evening. Good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Wish you all a very happy Diwali. We put the spotlight on an issue that becomes a big talking point every year around this time for sure. Ideally, it should be a big talking point, a big focus, a big concern throughout the year for us. But come winter season, when the air quality significantly dips across the country, across the biggest of the cities, most states, and especially in northern India, and of course the national capital, that is when we actually start talking about it. Take a look at the status right now. On the eve of Diwali, before the Diwali edition happens to this air quality, Ghaziabad AQI 413, Delhi AQI 302, very poor categories for both of them. Firozabad, Lucknow already hitting the poor category. Kanpur yet again and for a long time now has been a problem city when it comes to pollution, hitting the very poor category. Noida, Gwalior, Patna, Ahmedabad, all of them right now in the danger zone. Before we have a conversation about this tonight and we talk about how the states are failing to take significant steps, I want to go across to my colleague Gauri Singh first to get you some insights into pollutions across the city. Often it gets reduced to a Delhi debate and a Delhi problem, but the other cities are no better. Take a look. Gauri.
Right now, what we are looking at is the pollution map of National Capital and NCR region altogether. In fact, these red dots that you can see right now are basically different areas of National Capital and nearby. And if I click on each of these red dots, I can easily see what is the air quality index in that particular region, what is the level of PM2.5, what is the level of PM10, and other toxic gases and poisonous substances present in that particular area. So let's start and see what is exactly the situation in different areas of the national capital. Let's see what is happening at Mathura Road. Now, if I click here, I can easily see all the parameters which can actually tell what is the intensity of air pollution in this particular area. PM10, PM2.5, NO2, CO and O3. If we talk about the two main parameters, PM10 and PM2.5 in this particular area, the PM10 is poor, 246, PM2.5 is 326, which is in a very poor category. Let's move on and see what is happening in South Delhi. If we talk about IIT Delhi, in this particular area, again, PM2.5, the very crucial air quality index parameter is in very poor category. PM2.5 is 304, PM10 is 190. And let's move on and see what is happening in Lodhi Road. If I click here, I can easily see that PM2.5 here is very poor. PM10 is, however, moderate. It is 199 right now. So this is what is the condition in Lodhi Road. Also, we will show our viewers what is happening in different other parts of the national capital. In fact, if we see what is happening right now in Delhi University area, I have to just zoom in a bit for, yes. If I click here, I can easily show our viewers that here we can see that PM2.5 is in very poor category. It's 331, while PM10 is 219. Let's move on to Central Delhi in Pusa area, which is very close to the crowded market of Karol Bagh. Here you can see easily that the PM2.5 right now is very poor, which is 303, while PM10 is 194, which is in moderate category. So these are different areas of the national capital that we are looking at. If we talk about NCR region, what exactly is happening in Noida, in Gurugram, we can also gauge that in this particular map. If we click on Noida, we can easily see here the condition is really bad. PM10 is very poor, PM2.5 is very poor. In fact, PM10 is 304, PM2.5 is 313. So clearly the people of Noida right now are breathing very toxic air. Let's move on and see what is happening in another NCR region, and of course that will be the area of Gurugram. What exactly is happening, I'll show with the help of this map. Here I can see that PM 2.5 is very poor, 311, while PM 10 is 183, which is in moderate category right now. So this is what the condition is as far as air pollution is concerned in the National Capital Region.
We also spoke to people across different cities. We told you about the 10 cities which are currently looking at very poor air quality. And year after year, when we have to live in such a polluted atmosphere, when we have to breathe in this toxic air, it begins to impact our health without us even realizing it. Let me tell you the story of a 60-year-old resident of Mumbai, Margaret Saldana, who suffered from tuberculosis a few years ago, which damaged her lungs, so the disease got cured. It left a lasting impact. She says the rising pollution levels, especially during Diwali, aggravate her breathlessness many folds, leaving her grasping for breath.
I suffered from tuberculosis quite a few years ago. And by the time we discovered why I was coughing like a mad woman, my lungs were compromised. One lung definitely, almost 50% had gone. And there's no way of recovering that, but you can kill the disease, but the damage is done. Because of that, I really, really gasp for breath a lot of times, and this just aggravates the problem. Like today, this morning, yesterday, there were a lot of crackers. I have no idea whether it was because, politically incorrect, Pakistan was winning, or because they were celebrating Dhanteras. But definitely the pollution level went higher, and I developed phlegm balls because of that. Also, senior citizen, also definitely overweight. All this combined is a total recipe for disaster. And how am I coping with it? I have no clue. I've gone trekking, and I think going to Ladakh was far easier. I was not so out of breath as I am in Mumbai, just getting down from my building and going to work. And despite that, it's the educated ones who are the biggest, what do you call them? The ones who really are not bothered about these norms, societal norms, etc. It is who has the maximum money and who has the capacity to burst crackers and light fire rockets and things like that. It's really keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. Yeah.
Just like her, there are many millions of others in our country who suffer. You do and I do, and we all know it. We all also know the causes. We can sit and debate till eternity about whether it's the crackers more, or the vehicle pollution more, or the stubble burning more, or the factories more, or whatever else which are big factors as pollutants. That's not the point. The point is, what are we doing about it? What are the steps we are taking? We want to present ourselves as champions of war against climate change. But what are we doing to save our own cities across the country, to help people breathe better? That's the big question. Sumaira Abdulali, founder for Awas Foundation, Dr. Gufran Beg, founder, project director for SAFAR and project director for IITM Pune, Professor Arun Shrivastava, School of Environmental Sciences at JNU, Nighat Abbas of the BJP, and Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party also joining me this evening. Let me actually start off with Sumaira Abdulali. Sumaira, 5 steps that you believe that the government, or let's say just 3 steps, that the governments across the country need to take right away to deal with this problem.
Well, the very first step they need to take is heed the Supreme Court order and make sure that only crackers which are actually green crackers are burst. The Supreme Court has made officers of the state personally responsible for ensuring this. But the tests that we did on green crackers, supposedly green crackers, found that all of them were fake. 100% of the crackers tested were fake. So that's the very first thing they need to do, is make sure these crackers which are fake are not in the market. I think that's a very comprehensive step. So,
in fact, you very rightly pointed out, though, because to what extent do you think that will help, considering one, there is much debate still about the effectiveness of green crackers in reducing pollution. And two, there are so many fake green crackers out there that, I mean, I don't know how we expect an SHO of a zone to actually know what is harmful and what is not.
Well, sorry, is that question
Yes,
to me?
to you, Sumaira.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's not that difficult. If it's a test that I could do downloading a free app on my phone, then any citizen can do it. And the government can definitely do it, particularly since they are the enforcement agencies. So these green crackers have been formulated by NEERI, which is the Engineering Institute. And NEERI at the same time has put their stamp on it and has put a QR code supposedly on each and every box. So many of the boxes don't have QR codes, in which case they're definitely fake. If they do have QR codes, then NEERI has also put out an app which can check these codes, and it's a free download on your phone. You can check it. Anybody can check it before buying the crackers. And as I just said, the government can definitely check, given that the police licenses every single cracker shop which sells crackers. It's within their purview, it's their responsibility. Furthermore, I found through my tests that these fake green crackers also contain chemicals which are banned by the Supreme Court. Some of these are openly written and displayed on the boxes. So I don't see any difficulty in figuring out those. The rest of them have been tested by the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, and they can easily be tested by the CPCB, by other enforcement agencies. It's just a 1-hour test.
Okay.
For a lab.
Okay, all right. That's one aspect, which is to be more responsible when it comes to celebrating any big event that involves bursting of crackers. Dr. Gufran Beg, but what else needs to be done to bring down these pollution levels? And again, I know it might sound very narrow-minded by asking you immediate steps for immediate relief, but unfortunately, every time we talk about long-term steps, we discuss them now, and 3 months later, when air quality improves, we forget about it any which ways and move on.
Happy Diwali to all the viewers. But the coming 3 days are going to be very difficult for Delhiites. And then coming directly to your question is that it is certainly not a short-term solution. It has to be long-term solution. But at least at this point of time, one thing can be done, that now since SAFAR has predicted that wind direction coming from the Punjab and Haryana are highly favorable for the intrusion, and then the wind speed in Delhi is going to be extremely calm starting from tomorrow evening until 6th evening. So at least it may be told at this moment of time that you can burn the Parali after 6 of this, because this is the time when the Parali peak has gone. Today the fire counts were something like 4,000 if you talk about the effective fire counts. Otherwise it is going more than 9,000 if you look into the NASA. But ISRO satellite and what we combined with this, it is about effective. That is affecting Delhi's air quality. So now since that can be done, at least these 3 days, air quality will not go to the severe category. Otherwise, with all the possibilities, looking at the weather conditions, it appears that weather is chasing us. Earlier, Diwali was earlier, later, then the peak in Parali has come at that time. Weather has become unfavorable at that time. But now it has gone little earlier, Diwali. But then the weather is become certainly very, very hostile, going to be hostile on 4th, 5th, and 6th. So this is one. With immediately we can do this thing, at least have a restraint on these 3 days. This is one. Number 2 is that if no firecrackers are burned during this period of time, well, I am not in that even the green crackers, because green crackers also provide you at least 30%. It only saves about 30 to 40% of toxicity or the fumes. So if green crackers are not, if any crackers are not burned during this period of time, then air quality is certainly going to remain what it is today, means between poor to very poor even. So these two things, if it is taken care at least for these 3 days, then I think we can avoid a really a horrible situation, specifically for the people who are suffering from upper respiratory tract system or lower respiratory system diseases like asthma and all. So these are the things which is an answer to your questions, which I can think of it. But when you are looking for a long-term solution, because Delhi is somehow cursed by its landlocked location, where it can swallow everything, but it can't vomit everything when the weather is hostile.
Yes. Okay. So key points that you have raised, stubble burning, the other big one. Now let me go across to the political representatives before I bring in our more experts. And I want to first up go across to Reena Gupta, because Reena, you know, amongst the key issues that all experts will highlight, if we look at the steps that are being taken by the governments, we are far, far behind. Data from Delhi itself shows that out of over 200 complaints that were registered about pollution with the authorities, only 26 of them got addressed over 15 days. That's our response level.
Tanvi, happy Diwali to all your viewers. So, you know, pollution, every year we come on these TV programs and we discuss the same issues. Pollution is a whole North India problem. It's not just a Delhi problem. And if you look at out of the 22 most polluted cities in the world, 14 of them are actually in Uttar Pradesh. And Tanvi, Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Kejriwal, we are the only people who are taking concrete steps to address the issue of pollution. He's the only chief minister who actually talks about pollution. He tweets the AQI on a daily basis. I don't even know how many chief ministers actually understand what AQI is. Unless we make pollution a political issue, we start demanding from all our governments, nothing will change. You know, just to give an example, 14 of the most polluted cities are actually in UP.
Yes.
We have elections coming up in UP.
No, so, you know, Reena, I agree with you, and there is no two ways about it. I am fully with you. I began this conversation and this broadcast tonight by saying it's not just a Delhi problem. I listed out 10 cities which have the worst air quality as we speak today across the states, and I agree with you. My question to you is very simple, because you are in power right now in the national capital. You can only speak to me about that. Granted that the national capital's air is also impacted by what is happening around it. But of the over 200 complaints that were registered, we didn't even bother responding to beyond 26 of them. Isn't that a concern? And these, I must add though, these include authorities from your government to Metro Department to the civic corporations to the DDA, all of them. Nobody has actually bothered to respond.
Okay, Tanvi, allow me to complete. Please don't interrupt me. So, you know, first of all, this data that you're quoting from CPCB, it talks about the various, MCDs and various agencies in Delhi. So Delhi has this issue of multiple agency. Point number 2, we have launched a Delhi Green app. On that app, in the last 12 months, we received 25,000 complaints. 95% of them have been resolved. So I don't know what this 200 complaint, where this is coming from. And, you know, it sounds to me more political rather than anything else. Now, coming to the 25,000 complaints that we received in the last 12 months, 50% of those complaints were garbage burning and garbage related problems, which is clearly a domain of MCD. So the point that I'm trying to make, Tanvi, is that there is no point passing the buck from one person to the other. Why can't the central government get all the agencies together, fix milestones, fix timelines, and solve this once and for all? In not even North India, you go across to some of the central Indian cities as well. I mean, the tier 2, tier 3 cities of this country are in very bad shape. We don't even have air pollution measuring meters in those places. If you start putting up meters in some of these tier 2, tier 3 cities, you'll realize how badly impacted they are from air quality and air pollution. So as a country, we have to decide what is our paradigm of development, what kind of growth do we want? Do we want to continue using coal as our basic, energy thing, or we want to shift to cleaner fuels? These are all issues which the central government has to decide. And unless the central government does that, there is no point in having these debates every year. It's the same situation every year. But
Yeah.
having said that, Tanvi, it's only because of all the concrete steps that Delhi government has taken that this is one of the cleanest Octobers we've had in a really long time. Of course, monsoon did have a role to play in it,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is also because of all the steps that we've been taking in the last 7 years.
Okay, okay. Hopefully, on a sustained basis, once we see this, we will be able to come out with better understanding and interpretation of steps taken or not. But let me bring in Nighat Abbas, because Nighat Abbas, this is not just a Delhi problem, and I don't want to make this just a Delhi debate. People in Mumbai, people in Kanpur, people in Ludhiana, in Varanasi are going to be struggling as much for many, many days. Now, what's the point of becoming an international climate change warrior when we can't even deal with the situation at home? Nighat, I think you're on mute. Yeah, I can hear you now. No, I think there is some problem. I'm unable to hear Nighat. Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I'm saying, first of all, I'd like to wish you, all the panelists, and the entire nation a very, very happy and a safe Diwali. And you're absolutely right. It's not just a Delhi issue or Uttar Pradesh issue. It is almost a national concern, and we all should be coming together hand in hand to make it better, to make our country and all these states better. But I really like the way Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson has been able to collect it all to the central government and blame it to all the central government or the MCD in Delhi, and not even taking a responsibility of what has been done by Delhi government in this crisis of police. This has been every year a case. Meenakshi just clearly said that, Kejriwal ji is the only chief minister who's been speaking about this issue and who's been talking about the issue of pollution. None other than him is talking about it. Exactly. That's what our point is, ma'am. That every time, every year, we've been saying since 7 years that Arvind Kejriwal ji has been speaking about this pollution crisis, but sadly has not been doing anything. I want to know, as your chief, you have the chief minister, you're from the ruling party in Delhi, what all steps have been taken from your government, from Delhi's government, to save the lives of people from this pollution crisis? Because it is not something which just comes up only because of one day of firecrackers. I agree that it increases. I agree that. I am in support of people that it increases, but how do you smartly blame everything on the Diwali festival, on the 2 hours burning of crackers, and not taking the responsibility that it has been accumulated the entire year because of a lot of things? What have you been doing? No small towers, no water treatment. No other step has been taken. That is really sad. I agree. I acknowledge that there's the pollution in Uttar Pradesh also, and in Punjab also, in Haryana also, because of obviously stubble burning also.
Yeah. But let's just talk about Delhi and target the Delhi government and take no onus or responsibility of all the states where BJP is present or in the center, where the central government should be taking the lead.
Tanvi, you're a very great listener, and you've been listening. I acknowledged it that yes, it is a national concern, and we all should come forward.
So then let's talk about how we are not. But let's talk about how we are not, because you are falling in the same trap of making this a political debate between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP just about the national capital.
At least I have the guts to acknowledge that yes, it is a part of national, it is a concern of national issue, and it is not something which is related to Delhi. Delhi government is completely blaming you to either central or MCD. They don't even have the, they're so careless about this that they don't even have the audacity to take it to themselves that yes, that is their fault. And it is not something which you can't see. Right now when I'm sitting, and I'm very, very genuine on it. Right now when I'm sitting, I can see it burn in my eyes. It is that bad. I am sitting in some part of Delhi and not in Noida or in any other state. Right now, when I am the spokesperson of Delhi, when I am living in Delhi, my most concern and the most concern is Delhi, which is why I'm speaking about Delhi right now.
No, but I'm sorry, you're sitting tonight here as a spokesperson of the BJP, and my question to you are about the accountability of the BJP. Now, you choose to simply say, yes, it is a problem, but let's talk about where Aam Aadmi Party is failing. That's not going to take this conversation anywhere for the national viewer who's sitting us here and watching us. So, allow me to go across to our other panelists right now, Professor Arun Shrivastava.
Everywhere in UP.
Professor Arun Srivastav, year after year, this is the conversation. We can debate whether vehicular pollution or stubble burning or it's the industries which contribute more or less. Fact of the matter is all of them, including fireworks, do add to the problem. Now, where do you think we are failing? Why is it that there is no improvement in the situation year after year?
Well, thank you, and happy Diwali to everyone. For the last so many years, air pollution, especially in Delhi, has become a matter of debate. And I'm not seeing anything. So far, I haven't seen any significant change. And as far as the various aspects of air pollution are concerned, like vehicle, firecrackers, stubble burning, domestic burning, industries, etc., sometimes back you just showed the AQI of various cities. You'll find more or less at all the places, PM 2.5 was significantly high. It was in the red zone, very poor zone. This itself shows that PM 2.5 is mainly contributed by vehicles. So we should pinpoint in our previous shows also, I have already spoken, that the major culprit, major problem in Delhi is vehicular pollution. We'll have to focus on it. Problem is that because of the various situations, various reasons, maybe climatic effect, stubble burning, Diwali, vehicular pollution, etc., these makes conditions such that the pollution aggravates to a very high level yearly. And then we start talking about. And for entire year, we are not. We are cool. We are calm. So what we'll have to do, we'll have to mainly focus on vehicular pollution. If we solve it, in other studies also it has been found that the contribution of vehicles, especially in Delhi, is over 50 or 60%. Sometimes even it is 80%. So you'll focus on vehicular pollution. I'm sure that we can solve to a very large extent. And as far as other things are concerned, like stubble burning, Diwali industries I think they have already been banned. More or less, very less number of industrial units are there, and they are mostly small-scale industries. Large-scale industries or power plants, they are already stopped. They are not contributing much in Delhi. So, according to me, we should focus on vehicular pollution. We should go for some other alternatives. And I think that it can be done because for the last 3-4 years, Delhi is at the top as far as air pollution is concerned. Before that, Shanghai and Beijing were continuously on the top. Some other cities like Tokyo, Mexico City, and they have overcome with these problems. So much is to learn from them, and we can learn from them. We can follow what they have actually done, because in those cities also, if you take the example of Shanghai or Beijing, the major reason for the pollution, air pollution in those cities was because of the vehicular. So if we focus on it, I think that to a very large extent, we can solve it. And there are many ways we can learn from other cities like Hong Kong. Many Asian cities are also there. They have very good planning as far as the city is concerned, city's transport system is concerned. So I think if we work on it, we can have some solution.
Yes, in fact, since you've mentioned that aspect, let me bring in Dr. Beg. Dr. Beg, to what extent is vehicular pollution a big factor, not just in Delhi, but in other cities as well?
Well, when you talk about Delhi, urban, I'm talking about Delhi city, there's about 41%, which raise, as Dr. Srivastava has told, that it can go up to 50-60%. It's a big deal about vehicle. But I would like to point out two important things over here, which are interventions. Number one, number of vehicles are increasing significantly, fine. That is one thing. But if you can regulate the vehicles, I am talking about traffic control, then we can reduce the emissions significantly, number one. But with the same way, the normally dust does not get lifted up when there is a temperature is high. But then it get lifted up because vehicles is moving on the paved and unpaved areas. So that will also, if the traffic is regularized, that happens. So that is PM. So I am always talking about PM 2.5. That is the most lethal and most toxic. PM 10 time is gone. That we should not debate about PM 10, but PM 2.5 we should do because that is the biggest enemy. And that is where the share goes to 40 to 50% of the vehicles. Now, one can argue that in Delhi, already CNG is, you have shifted to CNG, you have shifted to this thing, but still the lorries and others which are running on diesel, they are the biggest culprit on that. Cars are not as much as these vehicles. Car is most loved luxury for any citizens still in India. So it is well maintained, I'm talking about. But the major issue is two-wheelers and all those heavy-duty commercial vehicles or something. It is not necessary that it has to run on Delhi's road. It runs even on the outside of the Delhi's road. The winds will bring them inside and get arrested in Delhi. And that is where the problem is. So Delhi problem is not only the vehicles within the city area, but at least periphery of about 20 to 30 kilometer periphery of Delhi. If the vehicles are not, and there the vehicles are there, which are, cars are running even on diesels. And even Ola, Ubers, you will surprised to know that when we did an emission inventory survey, the yearly mileage travel is about more than 1 lakh, 1.2 lakhs per year. Yeah. Whereas our personal vehicles done only 15 to 20,000 per year. So now how many these are there, all those? So obviously these things, outside vehicle comes, more than 20 to 30% of vehicles in Delhi enters every day from other states. Okay. And there are no...
Yeah.
So all those issues are there. So this is very important point.
Yes, and which brings us back to the same point, right? So Mera Abdul Ali, Jaggi Vasudev today made a big comment which has become a talking point again. And while he was coming from the perspective of allow children to burst firecrackers while you look at other alternatives to reduce pollution, I want to focus on the second part of what he has said, which is other options to reduce pollution. Now, what is it that he's referring to what we can do and the governments and the citizens themselves are missing out on?
Well, I think citizens themselves are missing out on a lot of awareness because people believe this, that, a little bit here and there won't really make a difference. So we like to look at these larger things over which we have no control. For example, things like saying that, the government should ban coal, which it should do. But where is the beginning of that? The fact is that coal is a huge source of air pollution, that's true. But so is garbage burning on roadside dumps. Stubble burning is a huge source of pollution, but firecrackers equally contribute. So I think citizens should start with themselves, and they should start with educating everybody who can and who understands this should start with educating themselves. We have had success with the noise pollution campaign in Mumbai because of this, that people have showed the way. They have done it. They have generated the data. They have taken action. They have made complaints. Even if only a few complaints are addressed, the volume of complaints which go in definitely motivate governments to act. And it's a question, if it's a political interest, then the governments and the politicians controlling those decisions need to know that citizens care. So I think every citizen's action will count. Do that thing which you can do yourself. Don't use crackers. Educate your children, educate their schools, educate your friends, and talk about it. Most importantly, make those complaints. Don't say chalta hai, don't say it's useless, don't say nobody will act. Maybe it'll take time, but people will act. And in Mumbai is the only city in the country where last year, when there was a complete ban on crackers in Delhi, for example, but there was only a partial ban in Mumbai, Mumbai was the only city in the country where air pollution and noise pollution did not go up to that same extent after Diwali as it did in the rest of the country.
Yes.
So it can be done.
Okay, all right. A big message here, given here by Sumaira. Reena Gupta wanted to come in. Go ahead, please.
So, Tanvi, I'm glad Sumaira brought up this issue of citizen engagement. This year, we in Delhi have also launched a very big campaign where we are requesting everybody to come together. And, we have not shied away, Tanvi, from taking any politically difficult decisions. We just in September itself, we decided there'll be no firecrackers in Delhi this year. Even though Bharatiya Janata Party has made it a big issue and they've, classified us anti-Hindu and whatever it is. But as a government, we are very clear that pollution is a big issue impacting the citizens of Delhi, and Delhi government will do everything that we can to make sure that we reduce the levels of pollution. But just to give you one more data point, Tanvi, one of the panelists was bringing up the issue of PM 2.5. Actually, 64% of PM 2.5 originates from outside Delhi. So even if you ban diesel cars in Delhi, if there are diesel cars running in the 200, 300 kilometer airshed of Delhi, that PM 2.5 still comes to Delhi. And so, another example, Tanvi, in Delhi, what we've done is we've made the registration of diesel vehicles more expensive. As a result of that, you will see that all the Ola, Uber, all the other taxis actually are registered either in Haryana or in UP. So the Delhi government loses on the revenue. But, the air pollution still comes from the neighboring states to Delhi. So that's why I keep bringing up this issue that unless as a country we decide air pollution is a big issue, and it is a big issue now. We are losing up to 10% of our GDP because of air pollution. The health impacts are enormous. So as a country, we have to make that call that no matter what it is, whether it is garbage burning or it is, looking at diesel vehicle emissions, phasing out the old trucks, all of that, only then we can have a dent in the in the next 10 years. Otherwise, it's a big catastrophe, big health issue which is impacting all of us.
Okay, completely out of time. I am going to have to thank all of our panelists for joining me on this conversation, and I think I will largely agree with what Reena Gupta is saying, that this is a country issue and all of us have to come together. And honestly, there is no more space left for any kind of blame game or to say it's your responsibility or not mine, this party versus that, this state versus that, or this organization or authority versus this. It's also high time that we don't make this a seasonal issue. It isn't. Just because we can see the pollution, see the smoke, and just because our eyes have begun to burn right now doesn't mean that the rest of the year what we are breathing is actually the best of the air quality. In fact, if you actually go by the revised international standards, almost all of the big cities of India would fail to meet that standard, whether it's Ghaziabad, Firozabad, Lucknow, Kanpur, Noida, Gwalior, Patna, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Hyderabad, any of these cities. The situation is bad. It's just dire in some of them, while the others are a little behind. But day by day, we are killing our lungs. Day by day, we're destroying the environment for our future generations. And just because you and I don't make this an election issue, the politicians don't care. Just because you and I don't talk about how thousands of people die in this country because of pollution every year, the politicians don't care. It is up to us to raise our voice and ensure that our governments hear us and know that we will make this an election issue. And we will judge you by your performance on how you take steps to give us clean air. The whole world is waking up to it, and so is India. Thank you for joining us.